9. Hope you're all well. I've just double checked that the stream is active. It appears to be coming on now. So I hope you're all well. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about some bits and pieces that I've been getting up to recently, and then after that we're going to be doing a bit of live coding. So if anybody is new here, what basically happens on the Saturday show is it's coffee and code, really. So I talk about what I've been getting up to, and then I can write some code and work on some personal projects and so forth. I'm the host of the How to Code Well YouTube channel. We do a tutorial on the Tuesday, and we do a web chat on the Friday. So that's me talking about web development, freelance and stuff like that. Yesterday I did a talk on web development and artificial intelligence, which was pretty interesting. And then after that, I do this show on the weekend, which is a live stream, where I do some personal projects, and I'll also talk about my week and so forth. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the end of year for the channel, because we're moving into November now, and if you've followed me right from the start of the How to Code Well channel, I basically resurrected it at the start of this year. I've had it for a while, but it was dormant. It was left dormant for a few years because I wasn't doing anything to it, because I didn't have any time to do it. But basically, cutting a long story short, I basically resurrected it again at the start of this year, and it's been going really sort of well, I guess, in terms of like the amount of content that I've been pushing out. I started off just doing tutorials, and then I moved into the web chats on the Fridays, and now we're on episode 9 of Coffee and Code. And I must say that I do apologize for last week, because I wasn't here last week. I was still suffering from a bit of a cold, and I had some other bits and pieces that I needed to get done, but I do apologize. So the channel has progressed, it's evolved, and it's gone from basically me showing what I can do in the sense of to an employer to help with the CV, to actually helping out a lot of developers, a lot of beginner developers, and so forth. I've done tutorials on Docker, I've done tutorials on PHP, MySQL, Jekyll, what else? Bit of JavaScript, bit of Linux, that kind of stuff. And I basically have been creating these in sort of playlists where you start from a very beginner point of view, and then you advance and get better. And I do know that there are lots and lots of channels out there that do sort of a similar format and stuff. But I find it fun because it's a complete outlet, another outlet for my passion. I'm very, web development is a hobby as well as a career. So I'm a freelance developer, a consultant. So, this sort of talking about web development, talking about my opinions of web development, hearing the opinions of the community is really, really what interests me. It's a good two-way streak. So, if you've been following for the past few weeks, you'll notice that the channel has been hit by the YouTube demonetization bot. And I did mention it a little bit yesterday in the what does artificial intelligence mean for web development, that video that I did yesterday. And because it was obviously an artificial intelligence thing that flagged some of that content up as not suitable for advertisers, but that made me think, that gave me the opportunity to take a step back and look at the whole channel in a sort of an outsider's perspective, if you will, with perhaps a business head on. And I've never sort of done that before with the channel. I've never been able to, well, A, have the time to do it, but B, sort of like look at it in that sort of way. I got so frustrated that my channel was marked as not suitable for advertisers. And I was thinking, why is this so annoying? Why is this so upsetting to me? Because the channel itself doesn't, it's only got I say only, it's got 1,580 something or other subscribers, which is fantastic, and it's grown from like 200 at the start of the year. So it has progressed, but I was like, well, why is this bugging me so much? Why is the fact that my channel that isn't making hardly any money in advert revenue anyway, because it's so small, why is that so frustrating that it's being marked as demonetized? Surely there's lots of people who are getting help from my channel, so that's a great thing, and that's kind of like where the whole point of doing it. Excuse me, my throat is getting a bit sore. And then I started thinking, well, who is the target audience here? Who is the target audience here? And I looked into the analytics, and I noticed that there was a lot of views, a lot of the audience. A lot of the audience was coming from coding schools all over the world. Right, I'm not talking about your code academies or anything like that. I'm talking about universities and colleges, because you can find the URL and find out where they're from and so forth, and do a bit of background information on them, which is fantastic. That is the target audience that I want to sort of hit. I want to hit that sort of academic level, I guess, and basically anyone else, I suppose, who wants to learn web development. But that was really nice. But then I thought, well, hang on a minute. These could either be students within the college or the university, or they could actually be like a lesson where part of my content is being shown. And then I went through all some of the videos, and I thought, well, hang on a minute. They're plastered with adverts. You have an advert on the right-hand side, which is like just a normal piece of a normal advert, I guess. You have an overlay advert which comes on and then basically obscures my face, and then you have what else? Basically lots of different adverts and stuff. And I thought, these guys, they're going to have to skip all of the content, and we're talking hundreds of hours that have been watched from this channel by those kind of institutes, which is fantastic. But it's such a to me it would be a pain in the ass to have to skip every damn episode just to watch it. So then I thought, well, there are different not academies. They're different things on the web that you can use in order to learn programming. So there is Udemy, there is Skillshare, there is what else? There's Code Academy. There's basically so many stuff. So I thought, why don't I package up some of my content and make it a little bit more friendly to that kind of audience, rather than, so you've got the content which is just, full of adverts, which is basically like a MySpace page with adverts and basic glitz and glam and stuff. And then you've got the other content, which is specifically for people who want to learn. And there'll be some of those people who want to learn on YouTube as well. But YouTube, not everyone's on it. Okay, not everyone really cares about it. Not everyone will go, I want to learn HTML or PHP or Docker, and then the first thing they're going to do is go into YouTube. That's not always going to happen. So that's kind of where my head is at the moment in terms of this reviewal process of where I think the channel is progressing and going to. I'm just going to pause for a minute and just read the comments. Hello, Slayer Darth. I hope you're well. I do apologise for not coming on last week. A bit of a cold. So what's academic about web development? Well, that's a very good question, and I guess it goes into, it's not just, so you've got the graphics for the design and stuff, and then you've got the designing of a system. So you've got design patterns and logical flows and all of that stuff. There is sort of set ways to build an application, I suppose, from a very computer sciencey sort of way. So understanding what variables are, understanding the memory allocation and all of that stuff. So there is an element, I guess, of academic stuff for that. There's also like a lot of theory as well, in terms of like usability studies and stuff like that. So again, with the design, and a lot of well, when I started, this is going back in the day, a lot of it was all Java. It was all sort of Java, but now things are starting to progress and moving into different languages, thank God. But I do feel that there is more of a need for learning, perhaps not web development, but programming in those kind of institutes. So thank you. You're a fan of my tutorial series, because yes, yeah. So that makes sense. Yeah. I guess that's the point. You end up sort of listening to people on video or reading a book or whatever, and then taking that away with you, and then building your own stuff, and then learning off of the back of that. So making your own mistakes and stuff, rather than just watching someone make a mistake. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay. That is a point that I was going to make. So Slayer Darth said it's oversaturated with third-rate developers. Okay. So I wasn't going to use those words, but I was gonna sort of talk about that a little loosely. So yeah, once you start considering going down that route of doing courses, you are basically in a ocean full of everyone else. I guess you could kind of call that again with YouTube, I suppose. But I guess my point is that having a reflective process on my course, on my tutorials, I don't think that the adverts are doing it any good, right? Especially the ones that are overlaid, especially the ones that obscure the code. Now I could turn those off, fine, but there is a part of me that thinks that that needs to, if this was ever to progress and which I hope it will do, there needs to be some element of a business head on. There needs to be an element of having some sort of revenue stream somehow, be it advertising, be it paid courses, be it whatever. But in order for me to continue this and improve and get better, then there does need to be something in place for that to happen. Now, whether it is people on so Skillshare does a monthly subscription where I think it's like $9 a month, and you basically have access to everything, right? And then with Udemy, you buy a course and you buy a tutorial series. Now, one thing I'm going to mention, though, is that I certainly will not deviate from, or not, no, that's not the right word. I won't stop, if that is the right phrase. I won't stop YouTube. So that's one thing, definitely, because there is an audience there. Obviously, there's an audience there. People have been obviously watching all the videos, obviously. But I do feel that there is another audience, right? And I do feel that with these other platforms, you can do a little bit more. So the Udemy and Skillshare, for example, they will take they will allow you to download the videos, so you can watch them on your phone, you can watch them on your tablets, you can watch them on the train, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I just think it's sort of like, when the whole reason why I do this on Twitch on the Saturday is to have another audience, right? So I wouldn't be speaking to you guys if I didn't diversify. So in this sort of one-to-one sort of me to many kind of way. Yeah, I have thought about, so Slayer Darth has mentioned doing some email marketing and stuff. Yeah, I have thought about doing that. I have got a subscription. I have got an email newsletter. However, there is a time element to it. There is a sort of I do all this stuff on the in my free time, right? So there isn't anything I can't do any more in order to unless it actually brought in a decent bit of money to actually sustain that. So yeah, that is an idea, doing some sort of email marketing and stuff. Thing is, I want to tread carefully because I don't want to become the sales guy. I don't want to become like the plastic car salesman of programming. That's not where I want to be. I want to be providing courses, and I want to be providing them to people who need them, right? So I'm not out to make huge amounts of money off of people. That isn't where I want to be. There are other people in this industry who do a lot of that, and I don't want to be that person. I want to be providing content that is good, but in a way that doesn't rip people off. And I think there is a line to walk between producing great content and just sort of like stacking it high and selling it cheap sort of content, which a lot of these industries, a lot of these platforms unfortunately do. So anyway, I've got a course on Udemy, and I've got a couple of courses on Skillshare. What I've been doing is been going back through the previous tutorials, packaging them up, and then putting them on those platforms because I've already done the content. Okay. Excuse me. Damn cold. So when I looked at this in a sort of a review kind of process, I was thinking, well, I've got a lot of stuff here that could go to those platforms already. And then what I plan to do is once all of those are on those platforms, then I will be looking to doing more courses and putting them on YouTube as well. So basically, I guess my point is that if you don't like the adverts, and a lot of people don't like the adverts, then go and check these platforms out. If you don't mind the adverts, then hey, that's fine. That's fine by me. There's no problem there. And you'll also get, from the other courses, the platforms, you'll also get a little bit more one-to-one with me and stuff, because it is done in a lecturer kind of teacher-student kind of manner, where you have your own sort of little forum and stuff. Excuse me. Yes, so sorry, just reading the comments. So Slayer Darth said that I have gained a lot from the community. The community is from all areas of the community, not just sort of like face-to-face stuff, but so yeah, and I guess this is kind of my way of giving stuff back, I guess, especially for the YouTube stuff, because you can kind of class that as free, because it as long as you don't mind the adverts in your face, then that's fine. But the adverts, I find, will deter the quality of the content, especially the overlays. So he said that one of his problems is that a lot of today's developers is that they talk more about the community than they put back. Yeah. Oh, yes, the community man. All right. Okay. I appreciate that. That's yes. That is that. I guess that is an issue, I suppose. Anyway, I don't want to spend all day talking about this, because this is one thing I hope, though, is that you can kind of see this as a very transparent thing that I'm trying to do. A lot of YouTubers, and I hate that term, YouTubers, will sort of go, "Oh, this is making money," so we won't talk about the business side of it. But I think that for my audience, I would like to keep you informed with where my head is at, and if someone thinks that it's a bad idea, or the majority think that what I'm doing is a bad idea, then I would hope that you guys would sort of tell me, because it's for you guys and it's for me. We both, it's a to and fro. Yeah. There's a lot of. So yeah, I do appreciate that, Slayer Darth. There is a lot of that. It gets bombarded by various IRC channels. The main problem is that no, I appreciate that. So, look, I don't want this to turn into a sales pitch. I certainly don't want that to happen. But I just wanted to tell you where my head was. We're going into November, and I need to look at the channel in a little bit more of a reflective process, I think, to see how I can make things better. Because I go back to some of the videos that I did last year, and I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed by a lot of them, actually. But that's basically my own sort of fighting for perfection type way of thinking. But there's a lot of things that I would like to do differently next year. I certainly want to continue as long as I have time for it. And I guess this is another point that I want to make. I know that next year and the years after, I'm going to be extremely busy with other things in my life. So I need to find a portion of my week where I can just focus on this and not worry that I'm not focusing on something else that is going to bring in the bacon, right? So, I mean, that is the complete black and white of it. Because if I'm having to spend time doing this and not doing something else, which is going to pay the rent, then I need to stop. So, but we certainly haven't got there yet. But that is on the horizon, I suppose. Those kind of things. So basically, what I want to do is lay some foundations now that will allow me to be in that sort of position later on, and then I can look back at this and as a reflective thing and go, yeah, those things I'm glad I put in place now. But anyway, oh yes, so Slayer Darth has mentioned a Discord server. So yes, that is something that I'm looking into as well, and I'll be interested to hear what you guys think, what you would like on that. If you've got any comments or suggestions, then do drop me a line. That is something that I would like to consider at the very least. But moving away from the rambling, moving into some perhaps of the coding. Let me just grab a drink. Hold on. So one thing that I would love to do is, at the moment, everything is on my blog. So peterfisher.me.uk. That is the one where everything is. That's my verified YouTube website, if you like. But the How to Code Well channel has its own sort of brand. How to Code Well. I have set up a Facebook page, Twitter account, an Instagram account, and obviously the channel. And obviously this Twitch stream is How to Code Well, and the Skillshare stuff, that's How to Code Well. Udemy, that's How to Code Well. I'm trying to make a brand. That's basically it, right? It's a brand. It has its own logo, and what I want to do is basically not move away from my blog, but I want to have its own website. That's my dream. I want to be able to have in the next 6 months, I want to be able to have a website that has all of the videos on there, B, links to all the courses that I've got, and C, a way of communicating. Yes, this is exactly what I'm going to talk about, Slayer Darth. You've got in there before me. We are going to build the How to Code Well website. Yay! That is exactly what we're going to be doing in the next sessions of Coffee and Code. And the reason why we're doing it in Coffee and Code, and the reason why I'm not going to do it on my YouTube channel, is basically because this coffee and code stuff is supposed to be for me to knock out personal projects whilst talking to the community. It's kind of the only way I can do it with time restrictions. So I would like to kick that off. I would like to kick that off today. So I would like to treat it like a project, a proper project. I wouldn't like to treat it like just some sort of thing that I do whenever I've got a time. I would like to have a schedule and commit to it. And I would like to have a deadline, and I would like to treat myself as a client. And therefore I would like to have testing involved. I want to have deployment involved, continual integration involved. I want to have tasks on sprints, maybe on Trello, that kind of thing. And I want to talk about it every week with the idea of maybe this is what I did last week, this is what I'm doing this week, that kind of thing. Yeah, that would be lovely. And I think that so Slayer Darth has said that code reviews, that would be fantastic as well. I would love to have that sort of other the eyes on, right? So I guess we need to talk about the project from a sort of a project's perspective, the requirements and all of that stuff. So I haven't this has just been a little idea that's been evolving in my head. So I haven't actually formulated anything, I haven't written anything down. And I think that is probably something that we're going to start with today. What I would like to do is agree on some sort of base requirements that I would like the site to do or achieve, and basically work it from there. So if you just excuse me a minute. Yeah. Okay. So that's the first question. So Slayer Darth has mentioned Laravel. So that's one of the first questions is what is it going to be written in? Another question is where is it going to be hosted? Another question is how is it going to be tested? How is it going to be backed up? Those kind of things. I'm going to tell you now. I'm going to put my foot down and say it's not going to be built in WordPress. That is not going to happen. Because if I can ever choose not to use WordPress, then I will. And I think it's the wrong tool for the job, completely wrong tool for the job. I think we need to define some requirements first. So what I've got is what I've done this morning is I have a Trello board that's open here. It basically has a couple of, I guess you would call these boards. I think you would call these boards, and then you would have cards to them. So nice to haves, to do, working on, done, and bugs. All right. So I might open this up and give other people access to this board, and then they can see what I've been working on and stuff. So I would like to at least fill out some to-dos today, and then maybe even do one of them, right? But I want to do this in a very sort of careful, considered way. Yeah. So for anyone who watches this on Monday when it goes out to YouTube, Slayer Darth has said, "Come on, MD5 is a great password hashing algorithm for WordPress." Yeah. Oh dear. Deary me. Less said of that, the better, I think. So also another thing that we need to decide is where is this going to be, where is the repository of this? My first thought was, let's just put it on GitHub and, let's make it nice and public and everyone can see it. And then I thought, well, hang on a minute. There might be stuff on the site that I don't want public. But so I'm on the fence. if it was open source, then I need to at least consider the license, because it is a commercial product. It is a product that will host courses and so forth on it. So yeah, and I wouldn't want anyone just to take that and then and use it for your own thing. However, I don't want to put it in Bitbucket, because that is and keep it private, because the whole point of doing this is to have something that you guys can look at and read. And again, Slayer Darth has mentioned code reviews, so that just won't work unless I had a private Bitbucket in which I allowed people access to. But I wouldn't mind having some feedback. What do you guys think? Should it be completely open, or with a decent license, or should I put it in a private Bitbucket and allow people access to that? Maybe some SSH keys or something, or whatever. Yeah. So, well, I need to go away and think about that, I think. But if you've got any suggestions, then do let me know. Right, so I guess what we need to do is start filling out this, and I do apologise. It's not really yeah, Slayer Darth. Yeah, I'm thinking about that. Maybe put a private Bitbucket repo and give people access. Yes, that's probably how I'll do it. Right, yes. It's almost like Slayer Darth is in my head and he's answering my questions, or asking the questions that I'm going to mention. He's like, come on, talk about it. So no, this is not going to be a static site, and I have done. Let's go back to There isn't anything on this board at the moment. Bear with me, Mo. Let me go back to here. Find the damn things. No, it's not going to be a static site, because I think that the site needs to be dynamic. Because I think that so static sites are really fast. They're really, really fast, and I have done some Jekyll tutorials on that. But I do think that there needs to be some way that I can actually manage it, or others manage it, in a more of a controlled manner, right? If it was a static site, then I would probably use something like GitHub Pages and have done, but it's not. Basically, I want to have this it's going to list my YouTube videos in a sort of a playlisty type way. So it needs to have integration with YouTube, and I would like to have YouTube updating the site automatically, which is kind of already happening on my blog. There is a Python script that I run, and that returns a load of JSON, which then builds up the pages for the videos. Fine. But I would like to do that on a more of an automatic way. At the moment, I have to run that script manually and then git commit all of that stuff and push that up. Well, I would like that to be sort of more of an automatic piece. I would also like to manually make playlists myself. So perhaps there are things that I've structured on YouTube that I would like to structure slightly differently on this thing. So there needs to be something to store all of that information. And I would also like to have the ability to maybe, I don't know, maybe this is a nice to have revisions of pages, maybe, where I can go back and have a look at what I mentioned last time or something. I don't know. So there needs to be a couple of things. So I would prefer it to be an MVC-based architecture, model controller view, where the entities are probably stored in maybe a MySQL database. So that requires to be backed up. This will all be in Docker. So this will all be a Docker. Well, you'll have a Docker container for the MySQL and Docker container for the actual for the web server. So there is a lot of moving parts here. There's already. But I think it is doable, and I would like to achieve this by, like I said, about 6 months ish. I can do this quicker than that, but with everything else I've got on, I wouldn't want to give myself any more of a tighter deadline. So we've discussed that it's going to be Docker, it's going to be MVC. So what I'm going to do is right now is put on here the to-do. So to-dos, we're going to have, just make sure that is, oh, have I not set that? There we go. Just, it was slow. Right. On the to-do, it is going to be create Docker image for web server. Okay, and then I'm also going to have create web image for database server. So okay, so that's the first thing, or the first things that we're going to add to this board. Now I suppose we need to decide what it is that we're going to use. I've just said that we're not going to be using WordPress at all. And I'm glad that no one else has said, "Oh, that's brilliant," you know, or "Why don't you do that? WordPress is great." Yeah. So let's decide on the language, and then let's decide on the framework. If we're going to use a framework. So I would prefer to use something because of the time limitations on this. I would prefer to do something that I'm familiar with. I don't want to have to relearn something or remember something again when I'm fixing a issue, a bug on it, and I don't want to have to go. I don't want to be focusing on stuff in my normal day-to-day job, and then when I finish, I go somewhere else and I have to relearn a load of stuff because I've done it in a different way. Although the idea of doing it in a different language and in a different framework that is outside of my comfort zone is extremely appealing to me, and I keep banging on about this in the channel, in the YouTube channel, that getting away from your comfort zone is a good thing. But for this, I don't think that that's a good idea. Also, because this is supposed to be a commercial product, I won't feel confident in putting something in production that is developed by me just learning it on the fly. I know PHP extremely well, so it's going to be in PHP. I think that's probably the first thing that I would decide. Definitely PHP. Next thing is, will it be in a framework? So it's an extremely simple thing, but I do believe that it should be in a framework. Why? I think that frameworks give you the opportunity to progress, and I wouldn't want to not add features to it later on because I know that I would have to build those features from the ground up or crowbar them into a half-baked framework that I've produced myself. I know that with the Docker in Motion stuff, there is no framework there. It's just a PHP site, but that was extremely simple. I know this is going to be extremely simple, but I don't think that is a good idea to just do it pure PHP, not with all the things, all the toys that are available. Now comes the decision on what framework to use. Now, so there's a few of them. We've decided that WordPress is just a no-go. You've got Symfony, you've got Laravel, you've got Falcon, you've got Yi, you've got Slim, and I've probably forgotten a lot more. Cake PHP, yeah. So I know I've played around with all of those things. Falcon the less of them. So I don't think I would be confident to do this in Falcon. I don't think that I would like to do this in Cake PHP because that is something that I just don't use. And I've chosen not to use it because of time. Although I have played with it. I have built sites in Cake PHP that are on production. But it's just too different from where I am. I'm a Symfony developer. I use Symfony every day. So the logical thing for me is Symfony. However, I'm sat on the fence between Symfony and Laravel because, and Slim as well. I've heard some really good things on Slim. I haven't used Slim at all. I have used Slim as a sort of a Hello World app, which I found was really, really good. But again, I go back to the whole doing it in a different language. Will I be confident enough to actually put this product in production? No, I won't. So basically, it's out of Symfony, out of Laravel. I'm leaning towards Symfony. I know that Laravel uses a lot of components from Symfony, but I know Symfony quite well. And as Slayer Darth has mentioned, it shouldn't be too difficult to do a switch because they are basically components, right? So one could argue that we shouldn't even be using the word framework anymore. It should be just a series of components that are put together to produce a framework. And Laravel uses a lot of Symfony components. So does Drupal. And that's another one that I won't use is Drupal. I've got sites that are on production in Drupal, and I don't like Drupal. But hey ho, this isn't a chat about what languages I do and don't like. This is me trying to forge a path into how this site is going to be produced. Okay, so decided then. It's going to be Docker. It's going to be Symfony. Symfony 3 at the very least. Symfony 4 is coming out. That's really sort of an attracting thing. I would like to have this on as the latest iteration that is as stable as possible. So yeah, if anyone has any other thoughts on that, then do shout. Docker and Symfony 3. So what I'm going to do in here in the browser is create a, and we're going to do it in Bitbucket. Create Bitbucket repo. And also create Symfony basic application. Okay, cool. Right. Okay. So with the nice to haves, I guess here we should really, and I've kind of done this backwards. I've discussed the technology that we're going to use before we've actually discussed what the site is actually going to do. So just off of this, just at the start of this, I've when I said that I was going to do this just like a normal project, I know this. Normally I get a PRD, like a project requirement document that says what it should do, and then I go ahead and do it. So nice to haves. This is kind of a list of things that would be lovely to have but aren't a high priority. So what I think I might do is have another list which is requirements. And I'm going to bring that over to here, all right? Because there might be some requirements that later down the line we put in the nice to haves because we've changed our mind. So, yeah. So Slayer Darth has asked, will any of us get a chance to help out? I'll think about it. I will definitely think about it. It would be an interesting thing if that is the case. And I need to think about how to do that and what it is that I need help on. So yeah, I think with that question I'll go away and think about it and then get back to you. I believe. I'm kind of, as you can probably tell, I'm kind of just sort of feeling my way through this process. So yeah, I don't want to agree too much now and then have to revoke access and stuff down the road. But at the very least, what I'm going to do is for all of the for the very least of this, I'm going to be demonstrating as I go along, writing the code and stuff. And Slayer Darth has mentioned the tickets and stuff, creating issues and tickets. That would be very helpful. There may even, I don't know, there might even be an invite thing. I don't know. There's lots of things going on in my head at the moment that I need to think about thoroughly. Yeah. So I've got a thing here called bugs. All right. So I guess that is your issues and tickets that come through. It might not be. This might not be on Trello. I usually work in Jira when I'm with clients and stuff. So, and I find that a lot easier to manage, and also that it's got better integration with code repositories and so forth. So anyway, requirements. Let's crack on with this. I do apologize. My cold is it's not leaving me alone. Okay, so requirements then. So we need to have sort of so it's going to have a newsletter. That's not 2 words. Newsletter sign up. So that's definitely a requirement. And then what else? So we're also going to have a login as well, because I wouldn't mind like a login sort of area. Maybe it's a nice to have, but a login sign up. It's going to have it's going to have a grid view of YouTube playlists. It's going to have a list view of YouTube playlists as well. And it's going to have the ability, or it's going to have a sort of a CMS-y type thing where so it's going to have an admin area, and I guess that admin area we could do like a checklist, I suppose, of all the things in that admin area that we need. So we need to secure login. It's probably not the right way of doing this, but we'll just continue for now. So secure login. We need to have video management. Actually, yeah, this isn't the best way of putting it in these checklists, is it? Let's close that down. Let's do another one here. So let's do admin video manager, admin course manager. Let's just sort that out. And then, so admin manager, course manager. We're also going to do user manager as well. In To-Do, I do apologize, my head's going in different directions at once as I'm thinking about things. So with the To-Do, we need to have a build server. So create build server. So this is going to be like a Jenkins thing. Yeah, create a build server. Create build pipeline. So that's going to be like every time I deploy to develop, then it's going to kick off a build, which will then run a pipeline, which will do a bunch of tests, maybe do a bit of code analysis, statistical analysis, that kind of thing, come back with some reports and stuff. Then, because it's going to be in Docker, it will be creating an image, pushing that up to a Docker repository. So that's what we need, create a Docker repo. Yeah, now I need to make a decision as to where I store all this stuff. One idea I had was AWS, because they have a very lovely jubbly ECR, which is their, God, I can't remember what it stands for. Nope. But it's a way of storing images. essentially, in their infrastructure, which is damn handy. So, although if you start thinking going down that route, you kind of need to put everything in AWS, to be honest. You don't have to, but it just makes sense otherwise. So I need to make a decision on where this is going to be hosted. The easiest thing I could probably do is use something like DigitalOcean or Linode or something like that just is one of these cheap VPS hosting platforms. If you've got any thoughts on that, then obviously put them in the comment section as well. But I need to make a decision, I suppose. That's probably one of the first things I need to do. Right, so newsletter sign up, login sign up, grid view of YouTube playlists, list view, the whole admin area. So that needs to be, yeah, okay. So admin area here. What I'll do is let's delete that. Yeah, and add another checklist. Yeah, whatever. So that needs to be what am I thinking? So first of all, it needs to be designed. Then it needs to be, we need to have create CSS. So this is kind of like a catch-all admin area. It's kind of a catch-all task, I suppose, to create the admin area. So create CSS, create JS, create roots, okay. Another thing I need to do, moving away from this is, or moving away from the actual creation of the build a little bit, moving into the front end, we need to come up with some tasks in order to generate and minify. So here we go. There we go. I should do minified resources. So we need to have. Oh, why did that jump over there? Add. There we go. So we need to have a gulp script. Gulp. Like so. And we also need to integrate Python, YouTube downloader script thing. I'll talk about that when I get to it. Basically, it's the script that I've got which will integrate the YouTube. Well, it pulls everything down and JSON creates a bunch of JSON files, and then my blog will then read those and produce the playlists and stuff. But I want to do this in a little better manner, so perhaps having this fired into a database, which means that I can play around with it without having to worry about playing around with the JSON files. So JSON files are basically the raw output from YouTube, and then the database would store a representation of that which can be altered later on, maybe. So that's cool. We also need to create a database, obviously. Database schema. Yeah, so that schema from the right now is going to be pretty simple, because it's just going to be like a course at where the course is. So whether that's Udemy or whether that's Skillshare or whatever, and also the YouTube videos. So as a collection of the playlists and the video resources and so forth. So I don't think it's going to be terribly complicated. Probably the most complicated part at the moment will be the login. So using something like FOSS user to do a login and stuff. So that, again, that's another thing on the to do. Create login script, login page, and we also need to do create sign up page like that. Whether they're going to be in different pages or not, I don't know. They could be together. I don't know. I think as this process goes on, people will be looking at it and commenting on it, and I'll be changing the design to fit. Nice to haves. All right. Okay. So let's get this out of my head. Forums. If I could spell the damn thing. Forums. I would like a forum. That's definitely a nice to have. It's not a requirement for launch, but I would love to have that ability to have a forum. I would love to have the ability to have people talking about programming on the website. That would be awesome. That brings in a lot of technical difficulties with hosting and management and all of that stuff, and moderation and all of this. I mean, this is probably something that I would love to do, I don't know, in a couple of years, maybe. But let's just put it on there for now. This is a nice sort of insight, I suppose, into where my head is, I guess. Although that's a scary thought, isn't it? So, yeah, all right. So let's have a look. Video manager, course manager. I don't think there's any other user manager. Don't think at the moment there's going to be any need for anything else to manage. I don't think. Also, there is another thing actually. Is as a requirement, I need to have a admin. Yeah, okay. I suppose what I could do is just have this as shop manager rather than course manager. No, I'm going to have two different ones actually. Shop manager, because there are programming books that I would like to recommend, and courses and other bits and pieces that I would like to recommend as well, and they all come from different sources, and so I would like to have a way of managing those things as well. Basically, the idea of this website, I suppose, is to condense everything, centralize everything into one place rather than have everything sort of spewed off. Before this web chat, I went through all of my videos. I had 150 plus videos I had to go through just to update a single link. Yeah, I mean, that took at least 2 hours because I was faffing about and on all of this stuff. And yeah, I know there are tools out there that you can get, like TubeBuddy and stuff, that will help you do that. But again, that's a paid for service. I would rather build something like this off the back of my own. I'd like to just do this myself rather than have another service that you have to pay for in order to update your own content. Yeah. Anyway, that's by the by. So we've got shop manager. I'm going to bring that up to here, bring all the managers together. Yeah. I think to start with, that's fine. And I'm already thinking in terms of the Symfony way with bundles. So you would have a video manager bundle, a course manager bundle, a user manager bundle, and a shop manager bundle. Other thing nice to have, let's get this out of my head as well, API. I would love to have an API as well. I don't necessarily want this just to be on, because I've got the blog, my peterfisher.me.uk site, and I've got this. I can see this becoming quite disconnected, and I would like to have some level of API which brings them together. That's going to be an interesting project that I would like to do, but let's just put that there for now as a nice to have. Right. Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do is probably leave it there. I think sometimes you can get quite overwhelmed by all the tasks, and if I start putting things into the nice to haves and stuff without actually working on any of these things, I think it's just never going to happen. I think the requirements, it's only a couple of words per requirement. I think I need to go away and actually justify this, but nobody wants to sit here and watch me type letters. That's not what Coffee and Code is about. So I think what I'm going to do is later on go through each one of these requirements and actually bulk them out with a description of what this needs to happen. So these are just, see these as headlines, right? But I haven't actually described what a user manager needs to do or what a course manager needs to do, that kind of thing. And I don't want to do that right now because it's going to bore everyone to death. Unless you want me to, of course. All right, so bear with me a mo. Right, sorry, my cold. Okay, so we've got Symphony application. Yep, that sounds good to me. What I suppose I could do is, let me just bring that over here a minute. Do. I'm just double checking what version of Composer I want of Symphony I want to use. I'm just checking the documentation. So just bear with me a mo. So 3.3 of Symphony is the latest. It's got the latest features, and the end of support for that is 2018. The end of support for 2.8 is November 2018. So it's saying use Symphony 2.8 for long-term support. But I am aware that there is a lot of change between 2.8 and 3, or at least 2.8 and 3.3. I don't know. End of support for January 2018 is quite short. I don't know. Let me have a look. They do have a roadmap, don't they, Symphony? That you could have a look and see. Well, I'd be interested to know what does everyone else think with using Symphony when you start off a new application. What version do you particularly use? No, sorry, TT designator. I no, they're not going to bore me. I'm just very conscious that this is turning into not a coding episode, and the more I fill this Trello board out, the less code I'm actually going to do. But I can look at these a little bit more, if you wish. If those things, so I'm gonna. Yeah, maybe I should. But first of all, I just want to just find out which version of Symphony I need first. I reckon I'm going to go with the latest 3.3, because then I will. I'll just keep updating that. I mean, 4.0 is the master, and that. I mean, I'm certainly not going to use that. I don't. The thing is, I don't want to be in a position where I have to go through a lot of deprecated stuff at the end of next year, or whenever the thing is. So yeah, I might just use that. I might just do 3.3 for now. Yeah. That's so just reading TT designator. Yeah, I'd go with 3.3. Yeah. Decision made. Okay, this Trello board isn't really a great representation, I suppose, because it is just like one line of stuff. So I might go back and just review this a little bit quickly, but then I will do a full-blown review of it later on, I think. But basically, creating the Docker image for a web server, I should define, I guess, what that means. So this is going to be Apache, right? So it's not going to be Nginx. So Apache 2 web server running in Docker container. Cool. And we also need to have maybe so that's going to be for production. Yeah, let's leave like that. This is going to be MySQL 5.7 in Docker container. The Bitbucket repository needs to have, so I'm going to do a checklist here. So this is going to grant access to users, and also so it's going to be private repo, but allow access via on request. Okay, that looks good. Oh, that didn't save. There we go. Create a basic Symfony application. We've decided that's going to be on Symfony 3.3, and we should also have yeah. So it's 3.3. It's going to use gulp. So it requires npm. I can never spell that. Gulp. Actually, no, I won't put that in yet. Symfony 3.3. Yeah, I'll leave that like that. But yeah, okay. Build server with Jenkins. So this is probably the most interesting one out of this list, I think, for me at least, anyway, because I do like my Jenkins build servers. And so here we're going to have so what to build. All right, so this is going to be the web server needs to be built, obviously. Web server container, and that container will be, so it'll be run tests. I would like it to write reports as well. For code coverage, I would also like it to not only do code coverage, but also do well, I said coding analysis, which I suppose is kind of a catch-all thing, but for let's do PHP sniffer. There we go. And also I would like to do for PHP docs as well. Cool. And then what I'm going to do is create another. That's good. Oops. No. So this will build, test, and deploy application. Now, with the testing of an application when you're using Docker, I find that it's easier to spin up a Docker container specifically for testing, test with that container, then either mark that as what I'm going to publish. So I would tag that, push that to a registry, and then run a Docker Compose up on wherever the production box is to get the next incremented image. Or I would test it, and then I would spin up a production image which doesn't have the tests to make it even smaller and push that. The problem with that is that you're pushing an image that isn't necessarily what you've tested, because you've tested an image and then you've tearing that down, tearing up another image, and then pushing that, if that makes sense. There is a sort of an argument that you need to have what is in production as what you've tested. That would include all of your tests. There are some clever ways you can get around that using Docker ignore to ignore certain files, like testing files and stuff. So when you do spin up another image off of the same image that you've already spun up, because you're using a different build context, that will have those tests ignored, maybe. So there is another way, but I'll have to think about how easy how easy I go about doing that. Yep, definitely static analysis. Sorry, I've just seen that TT designator. Yep, definitely want some static analysis on there. I want to know how badly I've coded it. I want to know how badly I've done. So that is going in here. So this is I just literally copied what you said. So write reports for static analysis. Yeah. Yeah, so I want to see like what builds have failed, what builds have worked, what code has been refactored, and all of that stuff. There's also so statistic, so p-depend as well. So what dependencies you've got, that's a good one as well. Yeah. Okay, so the Docker repo, this is going to be an interesting one. I don't really know where to put it. I could put it locally, that's fine. I could have a box in this office where I run it, but I can't guarantee that that's going to be constantly on all the time. It'll probably be on when I use it, which probably won't work. For if I was to allow other people on this. So I need to think about that. Ideally, if I went down like a full-blown thing and money was no object, then AWS would definitely be the route I would take. But that isn't. So I probably wouldn't do that. I only mention AWS is because one of the clients that I'm dealing with, we are doing Docker in AWS, and it is so nice. So nice. Okay, so what else? Sorry, just something flashed up on my screen. Okay, so we've got the gulp script. We should really define what that does. We shouldn't just say gulp script. So with a gulp script, what I would like to do is minify JS, minify CSS, and then we should also do some fancy stuff with images, maybe. Although I don't know. See, that's moving into something else, isn't it? Where am I going to store the images? Is it going to be on a CDN? Okay, let's skip over that for now. But minify JS, minify CSS, and sort of run JS tests if needed. I mean, I don't think there'll be a need for this, but I'm going to put it in anyway if needed. Yeah. If anyone else can think of what I can do with gulp, then let me know. I was going to put in optimizing images, but again, I don't know where the images are actually going to be stored. So yeah, and I don't think there's going to be, I think this is mostly going to be PHP, and it's going to be mostly Twig. So, because we're using Symfony, that just makes sense, really. So it's not going to be too heavy on the JavaScript. Oh, I've just thought of a requirement. It needs to be responsive. Obviously. Why didn't I think of that? That seems to be a buzzword that everyone wants. I'm going to put that right to the top. Responsive for mobile. Another nice to have is reporting. Okay. Backups is another, so nightly backups. And this, again, is where I would like, the AWS would be a perfect thing here, because with backups with AWS, it's a bit of a breeze, because you can use your S3 buckets and stuff for that kind of thing, which is nice. But this might be, I don't know, an rsync job or something. If I was to deploy it, and we haven't talked about the deployment process of this, but one way I was thinking is using Capistrano. With that, you have the ability to sort of say that there's going to be a numerous amount of builds available, and you can roll back and switch between each one. So whenever you do a build in a deployment in Capistrano, what happens is that you use like or the way I've done it before. I don't know if this is what you have to do. I don't think it is. But what I've done before is I've used a symlink, and all I've done is I've published the application in one pot in a folder, which is done on a timestamp, and all I do is I change the symlink from one to the other, which means that if I needed to do a rollback, then I just change the symlink back to the previous one, and so forth. But we haven't really talked about deployment. That doesn't really work very well with Docker, because with Docker, when you're deploying with Docker, you're deploying the whole image, not just the code. Capistrano is great when you're deploying just the code and you don't have to worry about the infrastructure, where the code is sat on. When you're worrying about where the code is sat on, you might as well just deploy the whole image as one. So for every iteration, you deploy the whole thing. Now that can get quite weighty, especially if you've got large images. So it might be that we change that a little bit. So maybe we deploy the image whenever the image changes, or the image needs to be updated or whatever, and then we deploy the code separately. There's numerous ways we could do this. Again, Capistrano is one way, but we could also do it with Linux archives. So we could actually archive that up as a package, as a Linux package, and then do an app when we do an apt-get update or whatever. We grab that in. That would be very interesting to me to do that. I haven't ever built a Linux package before, and I would be interested to do so. Don't think I'm going to be able to do it here because of, like I said, time constraints. I certainly wouldn't want this to not go live just because I haven't thought of the deployment correctly. So, yeah, whether we do it with... To me, it depends on the size of the image. If the size of the image is going to be huge, then I wouldn't want to push that image all the time. But if maybe we could use something like an Alpine image, which is very small. But I don't know. I need to think about that. Right, so we got the build of the pipeline, the Docker repo. We need to decide where that's going. So I tell you what, there's a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes here, which doesn't make much sense. So what I'm going to do is have another. Let's just change that bug. Well, let's add another one and call this key. Bear with me a minute. This is what I have done before with Trello. It does make sense. So key is needs thought. Costs money, I think. Oh, no, not. Let's not do that. Needs thought. And then we can do sort of high priority, low priority, and let's just change that to make that capital P. And then what I do with these is I give them a color. So with that gets changed to, if I remember how to do this, is it labels? There we go. So needs thought, I'm going to put in it as blue. High priority, I'm going to change that to be sort of a red. No, not red, orange. That'll do. Low priority, I'm going to do as sort of a greeny color, I think. Or no, just do yellow, because green should be done for like when it's done. So now what I can do is go through all of these things and just give them a little label, which marries up with this this sort of key. So obviously these nice to haves needs some thought, obviously. So API, that's fine. And reporting needs some thought too. Okay, so we need to decide where. Well, do we need to decide anything for this? It's going to be an Apache 2 image, so that's fine. There's no decision there, although that is. No, I'll leave that alone. There's no decision there either. There is some thought to this about granting people access and stuff. So we're just going to put that here. So we're going to have another checklist, decide how access is going to be granted. And then the Symfony application, it's going to be 3.3. That's fine. That's all right. Build the Jenkins server. So we need to decide where this Jenkins server is going to be, where it's going to live. So that's a blue. So here we need to decide how or where Jenkins is going to live, where Jenkins is going to live. There's a couple more of those, so I'll copy that. That is not red, that's blue. Labels. Okay, so create a build pipeline. Again, that's going to be blue because we don't know where the pipeline is going to be. And then again with the Docker repo, that it needs to be a decision as well. I mean, that could be the Docker Hub. There's no reason why that can't be the Docker Hub. And then maybe set that to private. Although I think there is a payment issue there. I think that there isn't a free private Docker Hub. So with Gulp, there's nothing really to decide there. I just need to do it. No, I don't think there's much there either. The database schema, we need to decide upon the schema. So we need to come up with some sort of ERD thing. So labels. So create ERD. Login page and the sign up page, there isn't really anything tricky there. It's just a case of, a normal sign up form. I might do social sign up. However, I mean, that's a very good thing to do, social sign up using sign up with Facebook, sign up with whatever. But I'm going to put it in the nice to haves because I don't think it's a minimum requirement to go live. So this is going to be add social sign up. I definitely would like to do it. That's probably the highest one out of all of this. There's no real thought that I don't need to think about it too much, because there's things that I can use, especially with Symphony bundles, that I can do with that. But I think as a requirement first, I don't think that's the thing is, I wouldn't mind the site to go live without it. It's not a massive requirement. It's not a showstopper. That's the word I was trying to look for. It's not a showstopper. I'm trying to get this as basic as possible. I don't want this streams and streams and streams of tasks here. Okay, so again, we've done it the wrong way. We should have gone at the requirements first rather than the to-do, but hey. So we got the responsive for mobile. It's also mobile, and it's also mobile includes tablets. And because of the course type nature of it, because of the YouTube playlist type nature of it, I would like to have it in so when it detects a tablet, it goes into like Netflix mode, where all the clutter is removed. Maybe that is a nice to have. Maybe I need to have a basic design first, but it's something that I would like to think about. Again, I'm going to put that on the nice to have. So tablet declutter mode. And I guess that's also the same for when you put the mobile in landscape mode as well. So you don't have to worry about all the text around. If you're watching a video, that's all you're doing. There's nothing interfering with your viewing screen. So newsletter sign up, login, grid. Yeah, okay, so that's just a listy type thing. That's fine. So these managers then, I need to define what these managers are. And I guess you could do these as checklists as well. Okay, what's this video manager? Okay, so add new YouTube video. Add new YouTube playlist. Change title and description. Delete video. Delete playlist. And also fetch new content. So this fetching new content part, I mean, these are pretty self-explanatory apart from this fetching of the new content. Basically, we have a script. I've got a script that is in Python. I think I've mentioned this about 1,000 times already, which uses the YouTube API, pulls down the videos, and then displays them in JSON format. I would like to do that. I would like to have the ability to press a button and do that, as well as have that done on a nightly thing. Yeah. Okay, so admin course. So this is we need to where checklist. Here we go. So we need to have the ability to add new courses. So add courses. delete courses, and update courses. I mean, the courses will be stored on things like Skillshare and Udemy, so there's not a lot to this. It's as simple as like the link, the image, if there is one, because usually I could generate the image from the link, and then like a description and so forth, which is fine. But it's basically essentially what it is a glorified link, I guess. So I don't see this being massive. However, though, what I was thinking about before this was reference data. This is something that I need to add. So when we've got the schema, I need to have I'll just put a comment. Remember the reference. Cannot spell. Remember the reference data. So when you've got like when you're dealing with like Udemy and Skillshare and other things, and there might be other bits and pieces, I want to be able to have an element of the database which is reference. So this reference Udemy, this reference Skillshare, that kind of thing, this reference YouTube and whatever, which means that I can alter that and change that later on. So remembering the reference data is important. Another thing that we also need to do is build some fixtures as well. So fixtures are basically, or create, I should do, rather than build, keep it consistent, sort of data fixtures. Yeah. So when you're producing like a test environment, then you want to have dummy data to play with. So, and also when you're tearing up and spinning up your local development environment, you want to have a bunch of fixtures to use as well. So we're going to have create a list, not a list, create a set of dummy data. All right. Boom. Okay. Starting to think about the login and sign up here. What is the benefit of logging in, sign up? Kind of falls into the forums and forums kind of area. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I should put that as a nice to have, these two things. I don't think there's I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring them over here. So sign up page and login page are nice to have. I guess you could manage your newsletter subscription when you're logged in, but that's about it until I have something else beneficial for you when you've signed up. Otherwise there's no point, right? I don't want to be in a position where I've got a paywall against all of my content. Not at the moment. No, I don't want to do that. So I think this is looking pretty good. Okay, so user manager. We have a checklist here, which is just going to be sort of add user again. This is admin, isn't it? This is admin manager. So this is adding a user, editing user, and deleting. So very CRUD based. I don't think there's anything else I need to do to all of this. I mean, that would be, the user manager would be for the admin area. So if I wanted to give someone else admin access to the CMS, I think I'll do that. I'll just put in this is for admin only. Okay, so shop manager will be about adding other products and resources. I do get often people come up and say, could you mention this on my channel, on your channel, this programming book that they've been writing and stuff. And if it's good, then I'll certainly recommend it. So I think that would be a nice sort of recommendation sort of thing. So we could have create recommendation page, and whoops, we can also do add items to shop, delete items from shop, and then edit items from shop. Oh, it's very similar to everything else. But I suppose with the shop, you've got shop categories, so create shop categories as well. That's probably a good thing to do. So some of them are books, some of them are other people's online courses as well. Yep, I don't think there's any other thing at the moment that I'm aware of that is shop related. Okay, so that's cool. Minified resources is definitely what we need to do, and nightly backups as well. So that's just a given. However, nightly backups is a decision as to where they're stored and how they're stored. So that is a decision that needs to be, I think it's, what is it? A needs thought, that's blue. Okay, so it's looking slightly better. I think I'll leave it like that for the time being. I think I've got enough out of my head to start working on, which is cool. But if you've got any thoughts or anything, then do let me know. I think what I'm going to do, because my throat is really starting to just fail, I think I'm going to just call it a day. But if you've got any other ideas, if you've got any suggestions, then do drop me a line. Do check out the Facebook page, which is just Facebook.com/how to code well, blah, blah, blah. Ping me on that, or on Twitter, which is @howtocodewell. I will just quickly demonstrate. This is the Skillshare stuff. So we've got a Docker machine for beginners, PHP for beginners, and HTML. And with Udemy, I have a PHP course here. So hopefully, like this week, I'm going to be pushing out more content. But again, like I said, I don't want this to turn into a salesman type pitch, because I don't think anyone's going to listen to that. But I'll be certainly interested to hear what you guys think. Anyway, I've taken up far too much of your time already. My throat is dying, so I need to, I don't know, have a lay down. Anyway, guys, thanks ever so much for watching and listening to my rambling. But speak to you again soon. Cheers. Bye.